सेंचुरी के करीब थी, निराश जरूर होंगी कि सेंचुरी नहीं आई और ऐसा मैच था कि यहाँ पे रन काफी आ सकते थे, लेकिन कुछ
Well, I'm guessing that smile gives it all, and that's because the Indian women's team is through to the semi-finals of the 2023 edition of the T20 World Cup. It didn't quite happen the way India would have wanted because rain played spoil sport towards the end. And like we told you just a short while back, that 5-run gap between what the Ireland score read, the scoreboard read like, and of course the DLS power score was 59. Ireland had 54 runs on the board, and that is all that India needed to march on to the semi-finals of the T20 World Cup for this year. Smriti Mandhana, in all likelihood, will be the player of the match with that 87-run knock, but Ireland continue to be winless in this tournament. No wins for them, and India, though, continue to be in second place as far as the Group B goes. Let me very quickly tell you what the scenario looks like as far as the positions in Group B is concerned. So England continue to be on top with the 3 wins out of 3. India in second place, having played an extra game as compared to England, but with a net run rate which is inferior to that of England. Now, you'd ask who India would play in the semi-final. Well, it looks like that in all likelihood it would be India taking on Australia in that semi-final, which will take place on Thursday. But mathematically speaking, India could still finish as the group toppers. But for that, something out of the world, something bizarre will have to happen, because Pakistan will have to defeat England by a huge margin for this for the rankings in the table to change. But in all likelihood, it looks like Indian women team will be playing will be playing Australia, beg your pardon, on Thursday in that semi-final match which will take place. Smriti Mandhana, as far as this game is concerned, was India's highest run getter with 87 runs. But those 87 runs, remember, of course, you'll talk about that 87 run knock. There were a few sixes hit and she looked good. But remember, there were two chances as well. Twice Smriti Mandhana was dropped. They were both sitters, I can tell you. And Smriti Mandhana first, of course, went on to reach her 50-run mark with that huge six. She was dropped just a couple of minutes back in that very same over. I think it was the 14th over. And then she just accelerated. But then on the other side of her 50 as well, she was dropped again and she went on to score 87 runs. And it was her innings around which the whole Indian batting sort of grew and sort of took shape, because there was Jemima Rodriguez, there was Smith, there was also Harmanpreet Kaur. She did continue to stitch on this tiny partnership with the others, which is what took India's total to 155, and that was all India could manage on the day. A competitive total, as we've been saying all along. India were obviously the favorites going into this match, and 155 was a very good target on this particular track, which, by the way, is not an easy track to bat on. And the 155 which India posted also the highest total that any women's team has posted in the T20F format on this particular turf. And as far as Ireland go, well, they looked nervous at the very start. There was a run out to begin their run chase, but still they managed to get some runs going their way. They almost scored, I would say, at the same rate as India did, because just in a space of about 7.2, 7.3 overs, India got to the 50-run mark in 7.3 overs. And if I'm not wrong, 7.1 delivery. So there was, in fact, there were 2 balls faster than India in terms of reaching that 50-run mark. But having said that, they fell short on the day by 5 runs. There was a rain interruption which took place in the 9th over, so play had to be stopped. And as a result, now you see the Indian women's team now cruising to the semi-finals of the T20 World Cup. The power score, the DLS power score, was 59 runs, and Ireland had 54 in the bag. So they fell short by 5 runs. They were denied a victory, which was anyway looking unlikely in this particular match. India went to the match as favourites. Smriti Mandhana continuing where she left off in the previous game, only bettering her score, I would say. She got a 50 in the previous match, and in this particular match she scored 87 runs, which is now her highest score in this particular edition of the tournament. Speaking of how the Indian batting, if I because there's not a lot to talk about as far as the bowling is concerned. Renuka, by the way, if at all I was to touch base upon India's bowling, Renuka Thakur again looked very good. But Deepti Sharma, I think she got to bowl only just the one over, but she got smacked for 2 boundaries and she gave away 11 runs. But that's not quite the way she's actually performed all through the tournament. She's otherwise looked very sharp and has been one of the go-to bowlers for Harmanpreet Kaur, besides of course Renuka Thakur, who looks absolutely menacing with that new ball. Regardless of the conditions, she's just able to do something which not many bowlers have been able to do in this particular edition of the tournament. But speaking of the Indian batting, after deciding to bat first, India got to a 50-run stand. I think it was around the 73-run mark when India lost the first wicket. Shefali Verma was the first batter to depart. Then you had Harmanpreet Kaur come in place of Jemima Rodriguez. But Harmanpreet, as she struggled for good 4 to 5 matches now, she's not been getting those runs. And today as well, while playing an attacking stroke, she holed out in the deep and she got out for 13 runs. Jemima, yes, of course, was able to get some runs. But Richa Ghosh, somebody who's been the savior for Team India, also took that match down to the wire against England as well. It was courtesy Richa Ghosh. She got out on a golden duck, so not an outing for her to remember. But otherwise, the Indian team going into that mid-innings break was the happier of the two teams, because 155 on this stuff would any day have been a very good total, and that's what it ultimately proved to be, because India have now managed a 5-run victory against Ireland. And in all likelihood now they will be playing Australia in a few days time, on Thursday to be very precise. If this is how things stand, if England of course continue to play the way that they played, they haven't lost a game as yet, no points dropped for them in the group stage, they will most likely be finishing as group toppers. But mathematically India could also finish as group toppers, but you'll need something bizarre to happen. You'll need a huge upset, and you'll need a lot of numbers to go here and there for India to finish as group toppers. In all likelihood, India will finish in second place where they presently are, and only if, let's say, Pakistan Adu beat England by a huge margin can there be a swap of positions between England and India. But otherwise, this is how things are going to be like in Australia. Well, they continue to dominate in the other group, and they will be finishing as group toppers in the other group. So it could be, in all likelihood, India taking on Australia. It's going to be an uphill task, but we'll have to wait and watch how that plays out. For now, thank you so much for tuning in to this particular update, and in case you haven't already done so, do like, share and subscribe to Sports Day.
लेकिन जो हमारी इंडियन वुमेन्स टीम की प्लेयर है वो इस आईपीएल से पहले